They laughed at her jacket. They whispered that she didn't belong. But when an admiral walked by and saw the patch stitched on her shoulder, the entire base went silent. This is the story of Sergeant Evelyn Hart, the woman whose worn jacket carried the weight of a forgotten heroism and a lesson in respect that no one on that base would ever forget. Before I share what happened next, I'm curious, where are you watching from today? I love hearing where you guys are listening from. It was early morning at Naval Base Newport, and the sky was the color of cold steel. New recruits jogged across the field, laughing, shouting, some teasing each other like young wolves discovering their pack. Among them walked a woman, Evelyn Hart. In her mid-30s, she wasn't tall, nor did she stand out, except for that jacket. It was old, faded olive green with patches frayed at the edges. The name tag read Hart. Some of the recruits couldn't help but smirk. Hey, Grandma, nice jacket. That thing been through Vietnam or something? Guess she missed the memo. We've got new uniforms now. Evelyn didn't react. She simply smiled faintly and adjusted her duffel bag. Her boots, though scuffed, were polished. Every step was measured, calm, disciplined. But inside, her chest ached. Not from shame, but memory. Because that jacket, that old, weather-beaten jacket, wasn't just clothing. It was the last thing she had from her late brother, Lieutenant Daniel Hart, who had died saving his unit in a covert rescue mission 10 years ago. And on her shoulder, stitched with care, was his unit's insignia, Wolf Squadron. Task Force 19. Later that day, the cafeteria buzzed with chatter. Evelyn sat alone at the far end, quietly eating her meal. Across the room, the younger recruits gossip. She's probably here because she couldn't make it in active duty. I heard she's some admin assistant, not even combat. Why wear that ragged jacket? Trying to look tough? Their laughter stung more than bullets ever could. But Evelyn just stared at her tray, remembering the day her brother gave her that jacket before his last deployment. Keep this, Evie. Someday, it'll remind you what courage really means. She had tried to serve once before, but an injury during basic training forced her into support duty. Yet she stayed in uniform, serving quietly from the shadows, honoring her brother's memory in every small act of discipline. That jacket kept her going. A week later, the base buzzed with tension. A high-ranking official was coming, Admiral Jonathan Reeves, a decorated officer known for his sharp eyes and zero tolerance for disrespect. Everyone lined up in formation on the parade ground. Evelyn, as always, stood at the end of the row. Old jacket, calm face. As the Admiral walked past, inspecting the lines, his boots echoed like thunder across the asphalt. He stopped now and then, nodding, correcting a stance, checking medals. Then he froze, his gaze locked on Evelyn's shoulder. The patch? He blinked, once, twice, then took a slow step closer. Soldier, where did you get that jacket? The entire formation tensed. Some of the recruits who had mocked her exchanged uneasy glances. Evelyn straightened. Sir, it belonged to my brother. Lieutenant Daniel Hart, Task Force 19, silence. The Admiral's jaw clenched. His eyes softened, filled with something that looked almost like grief. Lieutenant Hart saved my life. Gasps rippled through the line. He dragged me out under fire in Kandahar. Refused evacuation until everyone else was safe. We lost radio contact that night. I thought no one remembered him. Evelyn's throat tightened. She swallowed hard, her voice barely steady. I remember him, sir. Every day. The Admiral took a deep breath, then turned sharply toward the assembled recruits. Do any of you know what this patch stands for? Silence. No one dared answer. That wolf insignia belonged to Task Force 19. They were a covert rescue unit. They saved countless lives, and half of them never came home. He turned back to Evelyn. Sergeant Hart, your brother was one of the bravest men I ever knew. And seeing that jacket again. He paused, voice cracking slightly. It reminds me why we wear this uniform. Not for looks. not for approval, but for honor. Evelyn stood at attention, eyes glistening. The Admiral removed his own cap, bowed his head slightly, and said quietly, "Thank you," for carrying his legacy. Every recruit stood frozen. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. When the Admiral walked away, not a sound followed him. The same recruits who had laughed now stared at Evelyn, but this time, with respect. One of them, a young man named Cooper, stepped forward hesitantly. "Sergeant Hart, I'm sorry. I didn't know." She smiled softly. "It's all right, Private. You weren't supposed to know, but now you do." That evening, as the sun bled over the horizon, Evelyn walked toward the memorial wall, a silent slab of names etched in stone. Her fingers traced one name, Lieutenant Daniel Hart. Tears blurred her vision. But she smiled. "You're still teaching them, Danny, even now." Behind her, the same recruits who mocked her earlier stood quietly saluting. No words. Just respect. Weeks later, a new rule appeared unofficially among the recruits. Never judge a soldier by their uniform. And every time someone new joined the base and laughed at Evelyn's old jacket, another soldier would whisper, "Don't. That's the Hart jacket, the one that saved an admiral." And so, the legend of that old jacket lived on, not as a piece of clothing, but as a symbol of loyalty, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between siblings who served their country in different ways. But with the same heart, sometimes the most worn things we carry aren't old. They're sacred, because they remind us of those who never came home and the courage they left behind. I really appreciate you watching all the way through. If this story made you pause, reflect, or even smile for a moment, let me know in the comments. I read them all, and they honestly keep me going more than you can imagine.